here today on RealAgriculture.com at CropWeek in Saskatoon. We're here with Richard Phillips. He is Executive Director of the Grain Growers of Canada. Welcome, Richard.
Thanks very much, Sean.
Okay, Richard, let's talk about some of the couple things that are hot button issues or that the Grain Growers of Canada are really focused on right now.
Well, there's two key issues, I think, that are very timely for this time of year. Number one is public research, and the second would be improving farm safety nets. So on the farm safety nets piece, there's a federal provincial ag ministers meeting coming up on February 5th. At this meeting, the ministers are going to be making decisions on the future of the agri-stability, agri-invest. Are they going to change some of the parameters around it? Are they going to change the programs completely? And they're also going to start planning what programs do we need in 3 years from today. So is there holes in these safety nets that we need to work on, or are these safety nets are simply not going to work well enough, and do we need to create a new set of safety nets? So we've done a lot of research, and we've worked, the Canadian canola growers funded a major study out of Cornell, where they came out and they did a study on some average prairie farms, grain farms, and they said, if you had, for the last 10 years, if we just had GRIP in place, where would you be financially today? If we only had the case in place for 10 years, where would you be today? If it was agri-stability, agri-invest for 10 years, where would you be today? And out of that, they come out and they said, they went through all the data, and they said at the end of the day, what would work best for Canadian grain, oilseed and pulse producers is the whole farm revenue concept, so to ensure your gross income. They said over the long run, that is a more predictable and more bankable program and provides better coverage to your average producer than what the margin concept does. So we are working with a number of ag ministers. We've met with Manitoba, Saskatchewan. We're trying to meet with Alberta. We've been in and met with the federal people, and we're meeting with some maritime ministers shortly to say this is what would probably work the best. Now, what they have to do is, of course, have a look at this. What would it actually cost to implement something like that? And, you know, conceivably, we could have a situation in 3 years from today where maybe producers would have a choice. Do I want to go down the margin insurance model, or do I want the gross revenue model? And the farmers could make that choice based on their farm. Like it doesn't have to necessarily replace margin insurance. It could be in addition to it. So those are the sorts of things we're challenging the ministers to start their officials working on today, so that in 3 years we're ready to roll on a new program that'll provide better coverage for producers.
So you did the study. You obviously have some data coming back evaluating all the different programs we've had over time.
Yes.
What are you hearing from farmers? What's their attitude towards safety
Well, we
nets?
hear a lot of frustration on the margin insurance that we currently have today, and the biggest frustration is that it's simply not predictable. They simply, you know, even when you've got your crop often in the bin, you really don't know where you're going to be. And people are asking for more bankability on their programs, and so when we're looking at that angle, and we said, well, what would A, provide better coverage, but B, be more predictable and bankable? The gross revenue side is much more predictable.
Okay. What's the other thing that is a hot stove issue?
Well, another issue is public research.
Right.
And grain growers, we've been working with the Atlantic Grains Council, which is all the Atlantic grain farmers. We've been working with the Quebec grain farmers and with the Ontario grain farmers and with the Grain Growers of Canada and all the Western groups. And we've formed a national coalition, and it's time for the government to step up to the plate and put more money back into public research. You know, we have producer checkoff dollars going in, we have Western Grains Research at work. There's lots of producer money going in too, but we simply need more federal dollars to step up.
So why is it not happening, Richard? What's
happened?
It seems like such a simple, just do it kind of thing. What's the issue?
Well, I think it's been an easy place for federal governments to cut spending over the years, and I don't think farmers and farm groups have really been making much noise about it. And so, if you don't make much noise, the money slowly drifts away, and you're left behind. So that's what's happened to a large degree since 1994. If you just simply kept pace with inflation, we would have almost double the money today. So right now there's about $280 million. It should be $560 million. So what we're asking the government to do is, as we heard from Brian Rossnagle in a presentation earlier, you can't throw that much money into public research all at once. What we're asking them to do is to double it over a 10-year period. So put in $28 million a year over 10 years to bring us up to where we should have been. That's not even an increase in public research. That's just taking us back to the level where we were in 1994. And I think when we talk to Brian Rossnagle or Rob Graff, all the public, especially the cereal breeders in Canada, they're looking over their shoulders, and there's not a lot of new breeders in the lineup to transfer their knowledge to. And in fact, there's been quite a drop in the number of actual scientists even doing the work. So it's time for us to reinvest in that as Canada. The public sector is the place that does the pure agronomic research in many ways. It builds It builds that base. The private sector may come in and they can work out deals to maybe commercialize some of it, but at the end of the day, that core research, which isn't patentable, so the private sector won't invest in it, that's public research dollars. We need the government to be partners with producers.
So it sounds like there's a real opportunity potentially. You hear the pros and cons, but there's a potential, you think maybe, and you let me stand corrected, that there is an opportunity for this private/public sort of partnership in cooperation in a lot of these initiatives.
I think going forward, even if we were to double public research, the private sector is gearing up to invest a lot more in cereals, and so I think there will be far more partnerships. But a partnership only works if you bring something to the table. And what public research brings to the table is the core agronomic research. And without scientists doing that work, we don't have anything to bring to the table, and it's going to be 100% private at some point. So,
right.
So it's important to step up to the table now.
We act now and start to get things in gear so that we do have a public breeding system. If somebody wanted more information on the Grain Growers of Canada,
website,
yep.
www.ggc-pgc.ca.
Perfect.
We're on the, just Google Grain Growers of Canada on the internet.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us today, Richard.
Thanks very much, Sean.